Craigslist.io.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of You Deserve Crush on This. I am your co-host Rachel.
And I'm Delia.
And in this episode, we're going to be talking about men who want wives but are not actually ready to be husbands. Don't forget to follow us on social media at YDFL Podcast. You can also listen to us on your favorite podcast platform,
Which is iHeartRadio and Spotify, along with Ask Alexa.
You can ask Alexa, and you can actually watch each and every one of these episodes on YouTube every
And
Tuesday.
if you like it, subscribe and listen and share with your friends.
Like, share, and talk your ish in the comments. Let's go.
Yes.
All right, so let's think about this. There are so many men, I'm sure, who are marriage-minded, okay? But when you really talk to them and you get to understand that they really want to get married because they want a wife,
Right.
they're not connecting the dots that they need to be a husband and what that looks like. It's almost like making a purchase, or I don't want to minimize it to that level, but it almost feels like, oh yeah, I found a good one. And then it's
Right.
like, lock her down. Put the
Right.
ring on it.
Right.
But then it's like, do they understand? I feel like there's a disconnect between, okay, you got yourself a good woman and she's checked all your boxes, but are you ready to truly be a husband, and what does that look like?
Well, I think that's probably why there's a lot of men that have never been married, never have had children. I think it's because they feel like maybe she's the one, or maybe she's the one. And then it's like they go through the motions of it, and then they're like, yeah, but you know what? I have Friday night by myself, or Saturday night, go out with the boys.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, girls can be, respectfully, and I'm not bashing us women,
Yeah.
we can be a little needy. And so he may look at that and say, okay, she fits the boxes, but do I really want to spend every weekend with her? Do I really want to do life with her? And I mean, doing life is literally like
Doing
doing
life.
life
It is a
with
sentence.
someone. Yes, it really is. It's not like, when you're dating someone, it's like the weekends, it's fun, the girl looks beautiful. It's like waking up with her with some stank
With
ass
the
breath.
stank mouth.
Yes.
Stank mouth. and the
Yeah,
crazy
and
hair.
even guys too, though, same thing.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but a lot of the time, it's the men that have to take that initiative. So it's a little different.
Yeah, so I think, ladies, we also have to be very honest with ourselves. And of course, we want the ring. Some of us don't care, right? Some people don't care. But I think secretly, ultimately, the end goal is like, we'd like to be married. And many of us women, some women are just so obsessed with the wedding. They want the ring and the wedding. And even
Right.
they're not thinking about the marriage part.
Right, and I'll
wife
take
part.
it even a little step further, because I know this isn't something this is new. Like, this is social media new, by the way. Like, as old as social media is, and I would say it's become even more new recently, it's the engagement, like, marry me, and it's like the event of, and it's like this big old thing with the flowers, and everyone is like, hashtag goals, and I'm like, I could see how that is. So I'm not trying to even say that it's not goals, but marriage isn't that. And I'm sorry to break it to you, it's not. I mean, that's a very beautiful timeline for you to add to the relationship that you may build. But that marriage isn't that. Like, it isn't always going to be that red roses and the big signs with
It's
fireworks.
not always a big major event.
It's not always like that, And
It could be very lackluster. It could be very boring, very simple. And it's like, if you don't do well with like boring on a Friday night, marriage is probably not it. Because and I mentioned this, I think, season 1. There was a woman that used to do my nails way back in the day in my 20s. And she was an older woman, and she was divorced. And she had told the story about how now that she was single, every 6 months, men were proposing to her. And I was like,
down, Jennifer Lopez,
oh,
sit down.
more rings than Tom Brady, let's go. And, and so but then she explained that she was still single, and she kept saying no because she learned that to men, the ring meant do my laundry, cook my meals, and let me kick my feet up on your coffee table. And she realized, I actually love dating. Like, I love the dating part. Like, she loves being on the back of his motorcycle, or all the things that the guys do to get her attention, take her out to dinner, whatever her thing that she was into, right? And so she realized she was able to be honest with herself, but it took her like 4 different relationship, like major ones, engagements, to stop and go, is it me? Like, what's wrong with me? Because she did want to be married, but she wants to be married if what the guy is doing to get her attention is really who he is and like really what he's about, and likes to go explore road trips, whether it's hiking, no matter, maybe it's night clubbing, whatever it might be.
She liked the experiences with the person, and this guy's like, I need to make sure that this is dry clean and and I love this in the morning and that in the evening, and you're like, what about dinner? Like, I thought we were gonna go to dinner. It's like, no,
let's get dressed up, let's go out or whatever.
It's like, no, you're
and
gonna
so
do it.
I think that there's a little bit of a disconnect on both sides. So for women as well as men, when you're dating these guys, you gotta understand this is their best representative stepping forward, saying,
Always.
welcome to the John Smith, customer service department, like I always say.
Yeah.
So you're just getting their top tier representative, and let me tell you, if they're falling short there, you got a problem.
Always have a problem. And then you have, but a lot of the time, so I've heard women also say things like, you got to teach a man. It's kind of like you teaching a dog.
True, the training thing.
It's a training thing, right? And it's so horrible because I just feel like you just have to come authentic to yourself, because I believe that, in my opinion, if you have to tell someone to do this 3 times, it's because it's not naturally in them. Yes. So guess what happens? You as a woman, you become the nag. And if you have to then say it 3 times, you're now a nag. And you have to make a determination. Am I going to have a legacy of being a nag, or am I just going to bypass the fact that this really drives me nuts?
Yes.
And so anyway, I don't know if that's kind of in line with what we're talking about, but I do believe that, when men are dating women, they like the idea of having that, but they don't necessarily want to go the full mile. And women nowadays are actually taking a long time to get married too, though.
They're taking a long time. And that creates a whole world of other issues, by the way. I talk about this with my son all the time, because he sits there saying that he wants to wait until maybe he's 30. And I say, you have to understand, if you extend the runway that long, you have to understand that your one girl that you think is ideal, you're making her walk a long way on the tarmac. That's a long way to walk. And she's going to stub her toe, and she's going to get tired, and she's going to get burnt out, and she's going to get freaking robbed, and
well, I mean, she may find someone and then maybe have a child. That could be a thing that I'm saying. And then,
it's a tiring road.
Because after a while, I think, like, I've talked to people that are much older, and they'll say, like, I have to understand that I'm this age, and if I'm with someone that is in their 20s, I probably will get a woman that has never had children, but they're like double their age, so they don't have that much in common. Yeah. So the likelihood of this person that is like, in their 50s, they have to really take into consideration that that woman has already walked that tarmac you're talking about.
Well, he's a 30-year-old talking about 20-year-olds.
Right.
50-year-olds, there's a whole other level of tired.
Right.
That's a whole other, we are not in the same group. 40-year-old.
It's a little different.
40-year-old
But I'm just saying, there are people
yeah.
that haven't been married at 50, 60
That's
years
true.
old, which is so crazy. But a lot of the time you think, I'm in my 20s, no big deal, I'll get married in my 30s.
Yeah.
In my 30s, I'll get married in my 40s. And in your 40s, I'm in my 50s. And then after a while, you're like, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I just don't want to do this.
And that's the thing. So when we're talking about the fact that people are not really aware, men want a wife, but they don't necessarily want to be husbands. Women want the wedding, but they don't necessarily want to do the marriage part. Yeah, they don't want to be the wife, in a sense, in the true sort of traditional sense of the word wife. And so it gets really tough. Once you're after divorce, though, I think it's even a little bit tougher, because men might be feeling the bitter truth of having to pay out a lot of money. It was a very expensive situation that they exited with their first marriage. With the wives, they're coming out different, because on the second time around, because they're going, I'm not going to do all this and all this perfection and cooking and cleaning and everything when it could probably go south. So both sides after divorce are coming out changed.
Bitter?
Well, some people are bitter.
But some people are bitter.
Some people can go from bitter to better. And I think that's what we try to do. And that's what the show tries to do, is to kind of open your eyes and go, look, you don't have to be bitter.
Be better.
But recognize that it could be better. These lessons could be better. The unfortunate part is, again, women, we get really tied up with the ceremony of it all. So when I see, for example, this is being filmed right after Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have gotten married officially.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And they went to the little chapel in Vegas, the really famous one, and she was wearing a very simple vintage dress that she had forever. And I imagine she had it since maybe she was with him back in the day.
But here's my question, the $1 million question. Was she wearing the pink diamond that he gave her initially?
The green one. She lost that one, I think.
I doubt she lost. Nobody loses a pink diamond.
She lost it in the hotel drain. I don't know, did they ever find it?
Come on now.
She lost it in the drain. She lost it. It made the news.
I just don't believe that.
Lost it in the drain.
Dude. Somebody paid her for that ring. Dude,
right. She didn't even need that money back then.
Hey, extra millions of dollars, come on. Like, I lost it in the
I
brain.
just think, look, the fact that they got married so simple and the way that they did it and everything.
I think it's because they've already been. I think in my opinion, I think it's because they've been in the trenches. They already know what marriage looks like. They already know what it's like to run a household, have kids, do the thing, and then now it's like they've come to like their second part of their life where they're like, screw all this, screw the freaking marry me, screw the fireworks, screw all that. I just want to spend the rest of my life with you.
Yes, to me, it signifies that's it's true love. So to me, them not having the fanfare is they don't need it because they know for sure they should have got married the first time. But he had his issues, and we understand, and we can talk about that some other time. But at the end of the day, I think that this makes it kind of real. I'm really rooting for them because at the end of the day, otherwise you would want all this like fancy stuff. And I've met some people along the lines that they thought were going to have this super glamorous wedding, but when they met the one, they're like, I just wanted to be his wife. Like they didn't even invite, not even anybody in the family. Like it was so crazy. You just see the photos, the beautiful photos that they took.
Right.
And I commend them because at the end of the day, even though myself, I didn't have a fanfare wedding my first time, I always thought if I got married. So would
you now have a fanfare wedding?
So I always thought that if I got married again, I would want the fanfare because I never even got like proposed to or anything like that.
Yeah.
But part of me now is like, I think if I met the right guy and I've been through so much of what I've gone through, it's like, let's just do this. Like, what are we doing? Like, you do the wedding for everybody else.
Would you go to the little chapel?
That's where I went the first time.
Did you? Okay, so we can't do that again.
I ain't doing that. Yeah.
So it would be more like a jet set, Hawaii, Mexico.
Who knows? I think that meeting the person and seeing what the vision is together is the beauty of it.
I agree with you. Yeah, but. I think at the end of the day, like if like he knew she was the one, he wants to be husband to Jennifer Lopez. Like, I mean, she's a phenomenon, so I can't imagine who wouldn't want to. But then you have like the guys of the world that are like the Alex Rodriguez's that let the one get away. Like how? I don't even get it. But I guess at the end of the day, it's like, but there are men that have the equivalent, or maybe not, like in the scheme of things, of a Jennifer Lopez. Go get her, great mom, da-da-da. And then he's like, yeah, I want to marry her, but I ain't sure if I want to do it.
I think that men, they get a lot of cross signals as well. They get cross signals from their bros. They get cross signals from their family.
Yes.
They do get a lot of cross signals.
Like,
especially,
but you could do better.
Especially if they have money and success.
Yes.
Their circles
so true.
often hold them up on a pedestal. And the circles create this idea of what they think this guy, because they're living vicariously through this guy, right? Their friend. And oftentimes they go, wait, you're going to be with someone that already has kids? Like, you could totally get with that 25-year-old, even though you're 50, with gray hair, whatever the situation is. Like, there's this unrealistic, and it might be realistic, by the way, but there's a little bit of a skewed kind of cross message taking place here. It happens with women as well. If you are involved with a woman, and like we talked about this, she has sisters and a mom and aunts, and by the way, every decision has to be dialed in with the crew. Yeah. Now that man
it's
is
a board meeting in the kitchen.
Now that man isn't just dating that woman. That man is going against with everybody.
The odds.
He has to win over the whole ecosystem of this woman. And so it becomes really challenging. I think that if we're looking at, are you ready? If you're one of the Fab 15 men that are watching this show and you want a wife, are you really ready to be a husband? Because what that looks like is showing up for another person on a level that a lot of successful men who have been single aren't really sure that they can do. They're used to being independent or living on their own or having this girl come and go or whatever.
Right.
They're used to being in control, and that actually changes when you have a wife. And so it's about compromise. I think the biggest thing is the compromise, and the communication seems to be an issue. Even if you've never been married, it's an issue. But women, they do want to be heard. And they want to be understood. And men, you're never going to understand us.
Oh God, no. And then not to mention, right? I mean, let's be really forward. Like, we as women, we go through all these things, right?
We don't understand
on a monthly basis, and if it's a monthly, and
and don't forget, and if the moon is full, you're gonna hear like, I'm sorry, it's because whatever planet's in retrograde.
Like, really, no, you're just a bitch. But okay, we're just gonna blame the retrograde or the Gatorade, whatever. It's like, no, you're just a bitch. But at the end of the day, I think it has a lot to do with do you really want to hold that down? And I think more than being a husband or being a wife, because this could go for either or. It's like understanding that it's good when it's good, but it's bad when it's bad. Like, God forbid, your significant other, I've heard horror stories, right? Like, the husband gets colon cancer, and then all of a sudden they go through like chemo and all that stuff, and then the guy goes blind, and now she's being challenged. Are you going to step up to the plate to be a wife? And it goes back to a man too. Are you going to step up to the plate and be a husband? And it's not just when it's good, it's when it's bad too. Are you going to be there when it's bad?
Because so many husbands statistically leave when the woman encounters a major health issue. They leave. And so it's a really tough situation. I just know that, fellas, you have to understand, if you're dating a woman, if you're approaching 50, you are 50, and you're in the dating pool and you want someone that, because you got money now, whatever the situation is, as women, we're not just thinking of the money, we're thinking of like, does this guy do it for me physically or maybe emotionally, intellectually,
right,
spiritually, whatever it might be, because we understand this dude's getting freaking old. Like, we're gonna have to be wiping his, like, we did the Bumble challenge. We talked about that.
Yeah,
several episodes ago.
Very challenging.
And I'm 47 years old as I'm recording this. And so you do the age and like, okay, I'm going to click up this many years. I'm not going to click down. I want to go up. And then you see the photos and I'm like, holy hell, Jesus, take the wheel. Holy Spirit, activate. Because I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't know. But it's different.
But
if
it's weird
older,
because here's the thing. Like, if you don't click, but it's tricky because with the Bumble challenge, I thought that too. It's so funny. Because if you think about it, a lot of the guys, though, they are in their 60s and they're clicking down. And so then they match your, like, kind of your criteria. But you're not going to go down, 47. I'm going to be with a 35-year-old.
No.
That's just too young. Like,
I don't even want to click down 3. I don't even want to.
Right?
Click. I want someone who's older than me, but then it's
more mature.
The realistic thing is,
are you
look
ready,
at that and go,
Rachel? Are you ready to get the preparation H wipes?
Bariatric content. Here we come.
And wipe.
Hey, I live with wipes.
Preparation H. Are you willing to do that?
No. But here's the thing. I think that's where, for me, because I always say I don't date strangers, it's always vetted people. And I think to myself, if I can continue on that, I'll be okay. Because when you get to know someone first,
right,
whether it's through business or whatever it is, you see someone for who they
are.
And you can see them and you don't see that they're getting older. Like I don't, I just go, oh my God, he's such a nice man, or he's charming, or he's funny, or whatever, or smart. But if you're just swiping, you're like, okay, it's like, no. So anyways, ladies, if you are looking to get that ring and get that whole wedding, you have to really also put yourself in these shoes and go, understand there's wife mode too.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And it requires.
And I think that we as women, we're built to be more nurturing, and I think the new generation right now is like, no, he could do for himself. No, he has hands, he has feet. It's not that he can't do it. It's just that we were made to be nurturing, and you should possibly think about getting into your nurturing side. It's not that you're less than because you're helping, but I think that a man knows his position, and you as a woman needs to know your position.
If a man can take his position, I think she can gladly go into her feminine energy and be more of a lady and more, of service, giving, so to speak, and be giving. But at the end of the day, get those love languages locked and loaded before you even frickin' propose, because at the end of the day, it's a real thing, and you need to understand that.
The love languages of what you're speaking.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Anything else?
It's very confusing, guys. Yeah. I hope we...
Hey, you probably know less now than you did before this episode started, but that is the reality of women. Welcome.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to the You Deserve Fresh Lettuce podcast.
All right, guys, so we're going to call it, but be sure to join us every Tuesday. We got new episodes coming up on your favorite podcast platform, and as well as YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, share, like, all the fun things.
Listen.
See you next week.
Salud.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers.